didn't see coming.
So yeah, it's only paint. Only easy opening, smooth pouring, change your life both professionally and romantically paint. Dutch Boy, only at Menards.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts. 304-214-1600. Call the Watchdog with your thoughts. We'll be right back to Local Talk.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. Weather look at your local weather forecast for your Friday. Mostly cloudy skies, a colder day with a high near 31. Overnight low of 25 degrees under partly clear skies. You'll see mostly cloudy skies for your Saturday with maybe even a snowflake or two to start the day with temperatures in the lower 30s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
What day is today? Friday.
Wake up time!
Back off, all right?
You back off!
Boy, you act grumpy in the morning.
Why are you so grumpy, grouchy? Why are you so grumpy? Come on!
You know why.
I'm so stressed out.
Seriously stressed out here.
I worked hard all week.
Relax, it's almost the weekend.
Now it's time to let loose.
Oh, good. We'll start with radio.
Oh, radio.
It's free. It's free?
In that case, let's do this.
Conversations you care about with people you know. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe on WKKX and WVLY.
And the early morning snow seems to have stopped. Flurries were out there earlier. That's pretty much done. It's just cloudy outside right now. 25 degrees, Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 24. Here at the home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, 24. At the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley, 31 and breezy. The prediction for the day today, 32 and sunny for tomorrow, and warming up to 48 on Sunday, up close to 60 again come Monday. So that's what we have to look forward to. And again, the early morning flurries we had coming down, I got a very, 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 very super light coating on the grass out front, for example, over and done with, and now things are just, it's just a cold morning. I guess there are still some creeks and streams we're watching carefully. The Ohio River is going to crest just below flood stage, the predictions. And some roads in particularly eastern Ohio have been closed or have water over them, so you want to watch out for that. Still some people without power, so kind of recovering from yesterday's heavy rains and last night's heavy winds, but I think we'll be all right going into the weekend. Speaking of the weekend, we have high school basketball for you this weekend, both tonight and tomorrow, Brother Biff.
Yes, we do. We have Wheeling Central going to Harrison Central tonight at 7:30. Wheeling Central was there last week for the OVAC championship game, which unfortunately they lost to a very good Shadyside team. So Wheeling Central back at Harrison Central tonight to take on the Huskies at 7:30. And then tomorrow night, and please take note of this, this is not the rivalry. Well, you can take note of the rivalry as well, but where the game's going to be tomorrow night. Charleston Catholic taking on Wheeling Central, that game in East Wheeling. But it is going to be on our high school stream. So go to our website, watchdognetwork.com. Click on the high school stream tomorrow night, and you can hear Charleston Catholic and Wheeling Central, because at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, West Virginia, the men are in action against Kansas at a sold-out Coliseum in Morgantown. So Morgantown will be rocking tomorrow night, and hopefully West Virginia can feed off that energy and pull the upset of Kansas. But, yeah, Charleston Catholic, Wheeling Central, on the high school stream tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, yes. And Wheeling Central, Harrison Central tonight. You can hear that on the radio.
All right, that's coming up tonight. You know what, Bill's? Donnie's on today, right? Donnie Gilbert's on this afternoon. Dance with Dr. G today, I think, at the 12 o'clock hour. I think that's what we're doing today. I could be wrong, but I think it's Dance with Dr. G.
Here's what you do. Tune in at noon, and if you hear Donnie, you hear Donnie, and if you hear Bill, you hear Bill.
And, Donnie, if it's Donnie, he may have that traitor. Traitor to me. The powerful one, Pierre. Abandoned me. Now he's living with Donnie, I guess.
No, he's babysitting Donnie. Somebody's got to watch Donnie. That's what he's doing. He's keeping Donnie in line.
Somebody does need to babysit Mr. Gilbert. You're absolutely true. Absolutely correct. So
and if there's one person that can keep Donnie in line, it's Bob.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You might be right. All right, 9:14 here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Let's talk about the Ohio Valley News Weekend Review, statewide weekend review. Newspaper editor John McCabe is here with me. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning, Howard.
How was your week?
Good. I was in Charleston yesterday. It was good to be down at the state capitol and get a chance to see some of our lawmakers and hear some of the things going on. So that was fun. But it's been a good week. How about yours?
I haven't been in the Capitol since the pandemic began. I know the pandemic restrictions are over, but I gather it's a quieter place than it used to be pre-pandemic. Is that right?
Yeah, it definitely is. And, it's I didn't get to see it because they don't do it every day, but apparently someone has taken over the spot where Kirchville used to set up shop and is doing their own podcast there. So, again, when cat's away, the mice will play, I guess, huh? But so it's good to be down there, though. It's important to be there in person. And there's far too much coverage of what's going on in Charleston that's being done remotely now by some major networks in our state, and you don't get the feel. Talking to someone over the phone or watching a video or an audio or listening to an audio feed, you just don't really get the feel of what's happening as you do when you're there, and you can see facial expressions, and you can gauge body language and things of that nature. So, it's changed. This has changed a lot. It's changed for a lot of things for the better. I mean, it is good that if you live out, if you can't make it to Charleston because of weather or family issues or whatever, you can still follow what's happening. That ultimately is the most important thing. Many states, state house coverage is minimal right now, and I think in West Virginia it feels like we still have a pretty robust, fairly strong and robust press corps in Charleston or covering Charleston. But you do miss some things when you're not there in person. You just do.
You can't, there's a lot of value to having these things streamed, video and audio, and a good reporter, State House reporter, can catch multiple events they wouldn't maybe be able to catch if they had to physically be in a single room at any given time. So I think that's a positive thing. But we all know that one of the advantages of being physically there, and it's one of the things that I have missed over the last few years, not being down there broadcasting, and I know Hoppy and I have talked privately about it, is you miss I don't call it the gossip, but just that ability to, as Hoppy would always say, just to grab somebody and go, hey, what are you hearing? Because there's a lot of stuff that sort of goes around,
Yeah. So, but it was just good to be down there, good to see. I spent some time talking with Owens Brown, spent some time talking with Chris Pritt, the anti-stereotype bill sponsor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, interesting guy, and that's the thing of it. We have a nice response to our editorial from last weekend. He wrote a commentary in response to it and just kind of trying to explain the bill. And again, so I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm going to be in Charleston. Love to just sit down and chat for 5-10 minutes. And we did. And, again, it's easy to think people have the worst motives when you don't know them and you can't talk to them in person, or they won't engage with you. Let me put it that way. And some people, some lawmakers are like that now. They just don't want to engage. I found Mr. Pritt to be extremely cordial and collegial and just a nice guy he's doing what he thinks is right.
Did he change your mind on the anti-transparency bill?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think my mind is pretty set. But I'm listening, and he's, his point is that how it's being painted is not the intent of the bill, and I understand that, and but again, it's how things are supposed to have been done and should be done. Again, you have a disagreement, or you write a, no, I'm not going to call it scathing, but you write a pretty critical editorial, and and then that afternoon you take the guy out for lunch and tell him how much you like him, and you appreciate him for standing up for West Virginia, and standing up for what he believes in. Again, we don't all have to agree on everything. There's always common ground people can find. Today, unfortunately, everything is outrage. Everything is you jump right to outrage. There's no trying to understand where someone's coming from today.
Outrage is more fun, John.
Of course, outrage sells, Howard. It gets clicks. That's the thing, is outrage drives web traffic. Nobody drives web traffic by, sitting there and saying, well, let's have a deep discussion on, Ibram Kendi. No, that doesn't generate clicks because 90% of the people in this country have no idea who the guy is. They just don't. They probably never heard of him until some of this stuff is now coming up. And people don't. Again, people want. What do people look at? They look at headlines online and maybe a 2 or 3 sentence synopsis of a story. That's how people get their news today. That is how the vast majority of the populace gets its news. So, the goal has to be is how do we, as news providers, that's you, that's me, and many others, how do we get them to stop in that, 1 second of scroll as they're going down their news feed on their phone? How do we get them to stop and say, oh, no, this is something I really probably should know a little more about, other than just being outraged one way or the other?
I had a story on my desk this week, and I don't have it today. I moved it off into the probably won't get around to it pile. But it was a study that was done on how people respond to the media. And the point was exactly what you said, that most people read a headline, a paragraph, and form an opinion. And in this study, when they went to people who had an opinion about issue X, and then said, will you now read the whole article and tell me what you think? After they read the whole article, those folks said, oh, okay, that's not what I thought it was. So,
Surprise, surprise,
Oh, getting the whole story makes a big difference. John, I want to just philosophically for a second on journalism, I guess. It is we have taken to any more talk about clickbait, clicking online, and so on. Is that any different, though, than headlines, or I'll add myself to it, or teasers that we do on the radio? Coming up, there's a giant controversy brewing at the Ohio County School Board. I mean,
okay, I think
we talk about it with clicks and websites, but hasn't that always been the case with the media?
Yeah, it has, and you're right. I mean, and I think your example of a giant controversy at the school board or the commission or whatever. Usually, it's can't decide whether to use number 2 or number 3 pencils in this year's classrooms. So there's the controversy because yes, part of what we do is to it's a lot of bombast. There's we've got to get people you've got to pique their interest and. Is that good? Maybe it was good when you were limited to read the newspaper, listening to the radio, and watching television, which most people through the course of a day would eventually get around to consuming things that were on those mediums. Today you're just bombarded from essentially from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed. Whenever you're on a device, you're bombarded by news not only locally but around the world. And and I worry now that, what we did or, how we tease stories was, maybe just a slippery slope to where now, as we've talked before, some of those same mediums are going way overboard, and saying, hey, if your toenail's growing crooked, that could be a sign of COVID. Click here to find out, things like that I just think are so irresponsible and are there just to drive clicks. It's not even engagement. It's just clicks because, generally speaking, those things are just utter nonsense, trying to play on people's fears and concerns. So I think, maybe we want to look back and say we're somewhat, if not more than somewhat responsible for some of this because of what we traditionally have done, in teasing stories and probably making them out to be bigger than they really are. Again, go back to the pencil grades that you use as a good example. But, I don't, the big question now as you look at it is where do we go? How do we get people to engage with things that and I know should be important to them, or they should be consuming this information so they can better understand what's happening in Wheeling or Martins Ferry or St. Clairsville, Moundsville, etc. As opposed to getting so caught up on these national level issues. Like today, there's a story out this morning on. I'm sure you followed. This story of this Penn swimmer, who's the transgender swimmer Penn, who's breaking all these national female records. There's a story out there the first day of the Penn or of the Ivy League swimming championships yesterday at Harvard, and she broke a record or something like that. That story will probably get more traction among local people, just because of how it will dominate their news feeds, than important stories that are happening in this, in our community or our state that, again, are much more important to their daily lives. This is a social issue that, people, it's a good one to get people outraged on one side or the other, depending on how you look at it. No one's looking at what's going on in Charleston with the DBI and saying, what is this going to do to my taxes? What's Amendment 1 going to do to my county's ability to pay its bonds if it would pass, et cetera? What is Mac Warner doing to ensure that I can still vote by mail? Those are the important things that are happening that unfortunately get caught up in the almost the processes of bureaucracy, and people just kind of glaze their eyes over and move on to the, I'm not going to call a transgender swimmer salacious, but the story has a lot of salacious components to it, again, depending on how you look at it.
Yep. I found this report I was talking about, the study that had been done, study of 2005 adults across the country. 8 out of every 10 people say they have reacted to an online article, this is online, based solely on its headline. However, 90% of those same people disagreed with their own initial reaction after reading the entire story.
Yep. I think that tells you all you need to hear. It really does. Because, again, even though those people know that maybe their preconceptions of what that story was or wrong, is that going to change their habits? I'm going to say probably not. I'll be a little cynical about it and say that's probably not going to change how they scroll their news feed, and they're going to continue to make a judgment based on, one paragraph in a headline.
Yeah, and again, if the tease is good, if the clickbait headline is good, if the newspaper headline is good, if they do its job, they'll draw you into the story. But if it doesn't draw you in, all you have is what you read in the headline, and that's what you live with. All right, 9:26 in the morning, Watchdog Morning Show. John McCabe is here with me. John, let's do one story before we take a news break. Let's do one statewide story. One of the more interesting stories to me this week, and get your take on it, was Governor Justice's decision to endorse Dave McKinley in the McKinley-Mooney matchup. I was a bit surprised to see that. I kind of understand it in retrospect, but it kind of caught me by surprise.
Yeah, that was a big story. I think the other big story that, we can maybe talk about next week or something is Evan Jenkins and his parsing of whatever the meaning of the word is, but that's a whole different issue. But no, really from the standpoint of Congressman McKinley, big endorsement from the governor, very pointed endorsement from the governor. Basically, the Governor Justice said Alex Mooney, has only been to the Capitol once since I've been governor. He's never in West Virginia. He's not a West Virginian. He basically just compared and contrasted the two candidates, and in a very pointed way that, number one, I was kind of surprised, as you said, that the governor even, waded into this election between two sitting congressmen, both Republicans, one of whom, the one he didn't endorse, already endorsed publicly by Donald Trump, who, again, is very popular in West Virginia. So here we have Jim Justice, maybe not quite as popular as Donald Trump.
And has been a quote friend of Jim Justice.
Yeah,
That's what I found interesting. Yeah.
And so I think what's going to be interesting here is, again, Alex Mooney got a huge bump even before this campaign began by even before filing season, by the endorsement from former President Trump. He's been kind of riding that wave now for, a month and a half, 2 months. He's been sending out, if you've got a pulse, you've got a mailer from Alex Mooney pretty much, bumper stickers and all these different assorted things. And he's really been, been strong and aggressive in his campaigning. Congressman McKinley has gotten much more aggressive in the last month, probably in his campaign ads, and very pointed in noting that Alex Mooney is really not a West Virginian. He's a Maryland senator who couldn't find any other office, so he came here, according to his ads. And now again, Congressman McKinley has an attractive, again, we're not going to say it rises to the level of Donald Trump, but it's not maybe too far away, endorsement from Jim Justice that he will be using. And it's really becoming a very intriguing race in a lot of ways.
It is interesting to me to see now you've got Trump and Justice on the opposite sides of this hotly contested race. Who's the more? I mean, endorsements do make some difference, not a huge amount, but they make some difference. Who's the more popular Republican in this state? I mean, the temptation is quickly to say Donald Trump, but for better or ill, Jim Justice's approval ratings are dramatically high. I think I'm right. He's one of the highest approval ratings of governors in the country.
Yeah.
So it's not just a battle between McKinley and Mooney. In some ways, it's a test of which of these two guys, Justice or Trump, can bring the most people along with him. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, and I think there's a good narrative there. And basically, the narrative could simply be, look, we have two outsiders telling you they know what's best for West Virginia versus two West Virginians, been here for generations who have struggled and helped and, ran state parties and been involved in helping, foster the state into a different future. What do you want? I mean, do we want to continue to be beholden to out-of-state interest, which is, in the argument that McKinley would make would be, the one congressman and the former president. So it really does, set up I think a really intriguing next couple months. If you think about it right now, this is what's, to me, the most fascinating part about this race in so many ways. Well, there's a lot of fascinating aspects to it, but, right now for these two candidates, it's February for me and you, right? February, kind of a slow time. For them, it's September. They're in the home stretch of a general election campaign, in essence, in a contested one, which neither one has really had a serious challenger in the last several elections. I'll go back and say David McKinley's not had a serious challenger since Mike Oliverio when he won the office for the first time. So these guys are, in the home stretch right now in February of a heated campaign that I think, again, over the next 3 months, which we have just slightly less than that, May 10th is Election Day. The next 3 months, this is going to get very heated, I think, and again, just kind of bombard all of us. I saw they had, again, local ads, but, they took, I think it was Mooney maybe, or maybe it was McKinley, took out ads during the Super Bowl, through, and so it's, those aren't cheap, even through the local affiliates. Those aren't cheap, in the spots that they sell. So, again, intriguing matchup from day one that is only going to get more, I think, just more heated over these last couple months, or these next couple months as we head to May.
All right, I need to do a news break. When we come back, let's talk about some of the local stories that are of interest. We've got some school stories to talk about. Washington Avenue Bridge is reopened. I want to see if you feel like I do that there's been more accidents these days on 2 Mile Hill than usual. I don't have numbers on that. I just have an impression. I want to see if yours is the same. So we'll get into all of that coming up. John McCabe is here with me, newspaper editor from the Intelligencer News Register. It's 9:32, 28 till the hour. Let's check into the newsroom from Metro News, and then Mr. DeFabio has sports as we continue along on a Friday.
West Virginia Metro News. The home where a Brooke County fatal shooting happened this week is now in ashes, and the fire is being investigated as arson. Harley Gill is accused of killing Jules Sutler Wednesday and was charged with first-degree murder. He's being held in the Northern Regional Jail. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. Because of low COVID-19 case numbers, some school districts in West Virginia are getting rid of mask mandates and leaving it optional for students and staff. Marmette Elementary School principal Cindy Schilling in Kanawha County says masks have impacted learning, especially among young children.
So when you are teaching a 4-year-old what an S sounds like and they can't see your mouth, it was very detrimental.
Thursday was the first day Kanawha County Schools lifted its mask requirement. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Carrie Hudasek.
In Toronto Thursday night, the Maple Leafs beat the visiting Penguins 4-1. Let's hear from Pittsburgh head coach Mike Sullivan.
We just weren't good enough tonight. You know, we didn't execute well enough. I don't think we were hard enough to play against.
How about Toronto goaltender? Pretty good in the nets. Jack Campbell, 45 saves. Gino Malkin scored the Penguins' only goal. Penguins back in action Sunday when they host a very good Carolina team. It's game 1 of a 3-game homestand. Well, Thursday's meeting between the Major League owners and the players did not last very long. Try 15 minutes. And guess what? Nothing was accomplished. So, in my opinion, there is little hope that the standoff will end anytime soon. College basketball Saturday, a good one in Morgantown. The West Virginia Mountaineers will host number 6 ranked Kansas Jayhawks. Pitt at home hosting Georgia Tech. Your medals update from Beijing. Norway the leader with 34. In 5th place, the United States with 21. 8 gold, 8 silver, and 5 bronze. I'm Bill DeFabio on sports, and we are the Watchdog.
Coming up on Metro News Hotline.
On the Friday edition of the show, we'll get you ready for a busy sports weekend. Plus, we'll have the follow-up file, buy or sell, hashtag Beer Friday. Brad Howe from Sportsline will be here, plus your calls, texts, tweets, in or out, and our question of the day.
Metro News Hotline with Dave Weekly. Weekday afternoons from 3 till 6 at WVMetroNews.com and on this Metro News station.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Had some donuts and went home. All right, let's get together in a week. Excuse me. Yeah. It's Major League Sports anymore.
Remember, the application deadline is April 30th.
Introducing our new redesigned 7 News app. Our new app features a sleek, modern design, an easy-to-navigate home screen with quick access to local news content and a localized weather forecast. Subscribing to notifications is easier, and with one tab, you have access to recent push notifications. There are more ways to watch and find video. To get the new WTRF 7 News app, just update the latest version or download the WTRF 7 News app in your Apple or Google Play Store by searching WTRF.
Hey, I'm going to the kitchen. Can I grab you a Coors Light?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Huh. I never knew there was a zip line in my fridge. Hey, buddy! Yeah? You got 2 Coors Lights up there?
You got it! Always brewed down to 34 degrees. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go. 2 Coors Lights.
Awesome, man. Wow, these are really cold.
That's the only way I deliver it.
Sure. I mean, you being a mountain climber and all.
Yep.
You probably need a pretty warm coat in there, huh?
Yep.
Hey, Ben!
Yeah!
Ask him if he has any nachos.
You got any nachos in there?
No.
Just icy cold Coors Light?
Yep.
That makes sense. It is the Rockies.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Now is the time to explore Toyota's wide range of all-wheel and four-wheel drive vehicles. Like the brand new Corolla Cross with available all-wheel drive and more cargo room than ever. Or go off-road in a rugged new 4Runner. Visit your Toyota dealer today. Or go online to buyatoyota.com, the official website for deals. Hurry, offers end February 28th. Toyota, let's go places.
If you want to hear it again, catch a Morning Show Rewind for some of the best bits and interviews from the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. They're on the podcast page at watchdognetwork.com or search The Watchdog on Apple Podcasts. SportsMap Radio is on all night long. Tune in to get up-to-the-minute sports coverage on FM 98.1, AM 1600. We are the Watchdog.
Here's a look at the Ohio Valley local news week in review with newspaper editor John McCabe and Howard Monroe.
John, the Washington Avenue Bridge reopened yesterday, the day before, but they've done some repair work on it. It had been closed for a little more than a month, around a month. It reopened. I posted just a reopening notice that came from the city, and I posted on my Facebook page, and a lot of people going, "Yay! At last! Thank God! What's taking them so long?" I thought that was kind of strange. It hardly seemed to be an inconvenience for a very short period of time. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I guess it depends on your perspective on and where you live. You know, if you live at the Welty home or somewhere like that, and you got used to being able to walk across that bridge to go to the Dollar General or Greco's or wherever, I'm sure it was that month and a half felt like a year. I normally, for you or for me, you're in a car, you just kind of bypass around. So, again, I think it just depends on what the situation was for you. But again, it was a little over a month to get it open. It's important that it's done, especially after what we saw just here, 2 weeks back today, 3 weeks back today in Pittsburgh. I'd rather, the inconvenience of it taking a little longer is well worth the alternative, when you look at the alternative of something catastrophic happening. So, again, I think that's all just a matter of perspective.
I took a ride across. I was coming back from a church meeting yesterday, and I realized that the barrels were down, or the barricades were down. I just took a drive across it. I didn't have to go there. I just thought, hey, I'll take a ride across the bridge. Just for something to do.
Did it feel like a bridge? Was it just like driving across the old bridge?
It was just like driving across the old bridge. Yeah, it didn't feel any different. But I went across the bridge, went down to the shopping plaza, turned around, came back, and went on home.
Well, good thing. As long as it doesn't have that extra bounce in it anymore, that's always a good thing,
There's nothing worse than being on a bridge or a ramp, right? And you're stopped and you feel it.
Oh, I feel it. Yeah. The bridge over the river in Moundsville, the Archmore Bridge, is terrible about that. And it's just it's not dangerous at all, and it's the bridge flexing so that it doesn't break. Bridges have to be flexible, but when you're on that bridge and the wind's blowing and you're sitting in traffic and you got a lot of trucks on there, you're thinking this is not the best place to be.
It's exactly right. John, I put on our list here, and I'm really just curious whether you feel this way or not. It seems to me that there have been more accidents, primarily tractor-trailer accidents, but more accidents and therefore more tie-ups on 2 Mile Hill in recent weeks than there have been for a while. I'm not drawing any conclusions, and maybe I'm wrong. It just seems to me that almost every day we're seeing huge backups on that road because of a tractor-trailer. We had a fire earlier this week, and I think that kind
fire
of stuff.
yesterday.
Is it my imagination?
First, let's keep it in perspective. There are hassles and nuisances that delay people, but it's not like what happened yesterday out in, where was that? I think out in Illinois, where there was a 30-mile stretch of the interstate shut down because of multiple tractor trailers. But what's interesting, what I'm finding interesting, and I really hadn't thought a whole lot about it until this morning, was, there seems like there have been, 3, 4, maybe 5 tractor-trailer fires in the last several months, either going, sometimes going up the hill, sometimes coming down. Yesterday the truck that caught on fire was carrying frozen meat. So I'm sure that that smell was, it was probably like, Jimmy's barbecue up there, unfortunately. But I don't know what it is. I mean, that's a bad stretch of road. We all know that. It's a bad stretch of road right now because, as you come down the hill, the speed limit's 55. As you go up, the speed limit is, I think, still 45. Or maybe 45 going down too. And of course, if you do 45, you're getting
people are blowing
pushed.
past it like
Yeah,
crazy.
you're getting pushed repeatedly. The challenge is it's easy to say, well, put more law enforcement out there. There's unfortunately not many places to pull people over. It's a bad stretch. I'm going to say it's badly designed. It's just the way it's designed. It's, really not much worse than some of the other areas around, other than when you get to the bottom, you've got that sharp turn. But, that's not what caused this. It just does seem like there's been a bigger number of truck fires in recent months. And, what do you chalk that up to? I don't know. Bad luck.
I draw no conclusions from it or have any recommendations. It's just a feeling. It just seems to me like, and you're right, there have been truck fires, then there have been other accidents out there. It just seems like there's a lot of, long lines of traffic. And you're right, it's not like, but yesterday, I think both lanes were closed for a while. So traffic was rerouted through Elm Grove. I didn't get into the traffic, but I drove through the traffic in Elm Grove, my neighborhood here. It just seems like, a lot of traffic back up. And again, I draw no conclusions. I have no recommendations. It's just been striking me as something strange lately. Let's talk about a couple other things. The legislature in West Virginia, last year, put some really tight restrictions on needle exchange programs and other harm reduction kind of programs in the state. Ohio County had a robust needle exchange program, but they had to bring it to an end until they could modify it to meet some of the new requirements of the state. And we hear this week that simply because COVID took so much time from the department, they're not going to, at least for the time being, rev up their needle exchange program at all.
Yeah, it was kind of another I want to call it a casualty, but just additional fallout from what was the COVID crush at the end of 2021 when we saw case numbers, of course, accelerating greatly, and of course the health department's running vaccine clinics and things of that nature and testing sites. So it really came down to a choice. They had to have paperwork filed with the state by January 1 to continue their needle exchange program. Again, this is something that came up in the session this time last year based upon what were poorly run needle exchange programs elsewhere in West Virginia, particularly, if I remember correctly, Kanawha County was doing, you go in with one dirty needle, they'd give you 20 clean ones. And, these were all supposed to be set up as a one-to-one needle exchange. And Ohio County had always run it that way this actually started like in 2016, 2017. Ohio County, by all accounts, has been, has done what it was intended to do. It has helped to keep infectious diseases such as HIV, hepatitis, more under control than where it was when the opioid epidemic really first started to grow. People were sharing needles. If one person had some malady, it could easily be passed to another through the needle. And so we really haven't had, if you look over the last 5 years, not really had any major issues with, little clusters of HIV cases or hepatitis cases as we've seen elsewhere in the state without the needle exchange program. So, the big thing now, and we editorialized about it this week, is to get it back up and running as soon as possible. What we don't want to see, and I think Howard Gamble said obviously what he doesn't want to see, but what could be a side effect of this, of having this program suspended even for just a few months, you could see a cluster of an HIV cluster pop up in Ohio
cases.
County. Yeah, and some things of that nature that are not good public health matters to deal with, but they are, it's just some of the reality of where we're at right now with illicit drug use, and if people don't have access to clean needles, what are they going to do? They're most likely going to use dirty needles.
Well, for the last couple of years, and I think this is the issue that Howard Gamble is pointing out, for the last couple of years, because of COVID, health department staff and even volunteers have been tied up with COVID testing, COVID vaccines, contact tracing, phone calls, and all that sort of stuff. It's one of the reasons why I think they have cut back on the phone calls on contact tracing. And a lot of other stuff has gotten, in the health departments, a lot of the routine things have kind of fallen by the wayside because all of the effort has been put into COVID.
Yep.
We are maybe beginning to see, in Clay Marsh's words, the beginning of the end. Maybe it's turning into more of an endemic than a pandemic, so maybe we'll be able to devote more resources to some of this other stuff as time goes by.
Yeah. But
John,
no, it's interesting.
I have other things I want to get to, but in case we don't have a chance, I want to make sure we have a moment to congratulate a Marshall County school teacher, first grade teacher Heather Hott, who won the Milken Educator Award last year. Only, 60-some across the country handed out, and I think 2 in West Virginia.
2 in West Virginia, yeah. I'm trying to remember where the other one was. Hinton,
Hardy
maybe?
County.
Hardy County.
Hardy
Okay.
County. Hardy County, yeah.
Yeah, so a really nice award. She gets a nice $25,000, essentially stipend for her classroom to be able to try some new things. And, this is a great time for teachers to have access to resources. Again, we're coming out of what is undoubtedly one of the most challenging times in our state's history, and one of the most challenging times for education. Don't want to get off the subject totally, but we just saw this week that the Higher Education Policy Commission is lowering the standards for the Promise Scholarship simply because kids are scoring worse on standardized tests like the SAT, ACT, et cetera. So, this is all part of a larger package that basically says our kids' learning loss over the last 2 years for many kids, I'm not going to say all, but for many kids, has been great. And so for elementary school kids, Ms. Hott now has a chance to maybe try something different that the county by itself couldn't afford or doesn't know if it wants to fund, that can help kids to re-engage. And that really, to me, is probably one of the biggest things we see is students have disengaged in the classroom after 2 years of, being at home and then being in school and then being at home and having, not much face-to-face contact with their teachers. So this, congratulations to her to Ms. Hott for the award, and I'll be really curious to see over the next year what she does with it, what she thinks of, and maybe it can be more than just what you might do in a non-COVID time to help kids re-engage in the classroom.
Well, I want to congratulate her, Heather Hott. She's at McNinch Elementary, first grade teacher down in Marshall County, and one of 60 Milken Award winners across the country, 2 of them in West Virginia, which is kind of nice. John, I got to move on. We'll talk to you again next week. I'll probably talk to you before then, but have yourself a great week. And
You too, Howard.
Newspaper editor John McCabe and I, always on the Friday roundtable here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Wrapping up the day, wrapping up the week, it's Bob Westfall from the Big 7, WTRF-TV. All ready for the weekend, Bob?
Oh, yeah, can't wait. Can't wait. It's going to be a beautiful one.
What are your big plans?
Daytona 500 this Sunday, so that's
I
probably...
knew you were going to say that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's my plan for Sunday. Saturday, probably sleep in.
It never hurts to sleep. Sleeping in is always a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a little bit of that yesterday, but we'll see how that goes.
Again, I should say, have you got anything? I should ask, what exciting things do you have that you're working on today?
All right. Right now, we're working on checking area for possible flooding, taking a look at some of the roadways and things like that. Looks like Route 9 is closed in a couple different areas. We'll continue to follow that in St. Clairsville. We've got that. Looks like there's some roads up in northern Jefferson County that are closed. Right now, we're not hearing anything about anything closed in Ohio County. Marshall County schools are on remote. Do have a power outage at John Marshall High School. We're checking on what the cause of that is. So that's kind of where we're at. I think we somewhat dodged a bit of a bullet in the fact it was not as much flooding as we thought there might be, but there was enough. We got video in from Howard Street in Bridgeport. Someone shot last night around 9 o'clock. Their street was a rushing torrent. So I think we're going to see a lot of urban flooding, a lot of cleanup after that. I noticed on my drive in, the Ohio River was a little bit higher, but I don't think it's going to. Last I saw it was going to crest to like 35.5 and flood stage 36. So I'm sure Aaron gave you better numbers this morning when you talked to him this morning. So we'll continue to follow.
I think those were the current numbers that we had with flood stage at 36. The prediction is Sunday maybe. I can't remember when it's, but the crest will be at 35.5, so it's not going to be. It will be just below flood stage. And as Brother Biff, who is himself an island rat, points out, while that is bad for the downs maybe, or if it actually gets to 36 and above, for much of the island, that still isn't their great concern. So hopefully, as you say, dodged a bullet. We'll have to wait and see.
Right. So, I mean, it'll be dramatic. If you go down to Heritage Port, I'm sure the river's dramatic. Just looking at it at 35.5. I don't, not seeing much more damage. Looking around, I'm seeing 148, State Route 148 is closed in Belmont County. All lanes are closed. Lanes there are closed. Route 9 out of St. Clairsville, a couple different places closed. Looking at the map real quick, I know it's kind of, most of Jefferson County looks like it's up north, Amsterdam area, things like that. So we'll continue to watch that. Creeks and streams, I think we, in that situation, we also got pretty lucky. A lot of the ice on the creeks and streams had melted in the previous 2 days, but we'll continue to watch that. So that's the biggest thing we're watching now. Is things have kind of turned over to snow flurries. So what we've got to deal with now is freezing roads, things like that. I know I walked out this morning and my car was a sheet of ice. Luckily, didn't have to use the key like in the old days. So we'll continue to watch that. So that weather and stuff like that is the big thing today. So we'll continue to watch that. So that's the biggest thing we're looking at right now.
It looks like some power outages still around the area too.
Yeah. So power outage. I know we talked to Tony Wood with Marshall County Schools. Queen of Queens has been moved from John Marshall High School, which because they do have power out to the Strand Theater. So if you in Marshall County are going to the Queen of Queens tonight, it is not at John Marshall High School. It is at going to be at the Strand Theaters. They've opened their doors because apparently there are power outages. We're checking to see if that's weather related, so we're not sure. So we've got that. A couple other things. Strange twist in that murder in Brooke County. Apparently the home, the trailer that he was shot and killed in was burned to the ground. So they're treating it as an arson. So we're going to get an update on that. Kind of a strange twist to a strange case. So we'll have that. Let's see what else we're working on. Nice story out of Wheeling. A woman needed a liver transplant. Her nephew donated part of his liver so she could live. We're going to talk to the whole family about that. I really like that story. So Leah's going to have that today. Youth Services, the Women's Giving Circle, I'm sure you're aware of them, Howard, part of Community Foundation, donated $10,000 to the Youth Services Women's Transitional Living Program. We're going to talk to not only Susie Nelson, who's on the board with the Giving Circle and Community Foundation, but we're going to talk to a young woman that went through that program, kind of explaining what it is and how important it is for women to transition into where they can work and things like that. So I really like that story. So those are some of the things we're working on. Like I said, we've got the Super Bowl this weekend. Super Bowl, that was last weekend. We've got Daytona this week. So Scott's going to be working on that. I do believe...
I got to run. People can check it all out on TV at noon, 5, 6, 10, 11, 5:30 statewide with Mark. And, of course, always at WTRF.com, your Facebook page. And carry WTRF with you in your pocket, the Storm Tracker 7 app and the News app. Bob, I got to run. I will talk to you Monday. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy the Daytona 500 on the screen. And we'll talk to you Monday.
All right, guys. Talk to you Monday.
Thanks a lot. Biffy, I got to go. I'll be back Monday morning, 7 o'clock, another go around to the big gig. Are you back with me?
I am here Monday, ready to start another week.
We'll keep on doing it till we get it right.
That could be a long, 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 long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
Crane is taking place in Germany at the Munich Security Conference.
All right, Biffy. I've never seen as many messages on my screen here as offering free tickets gets, apparently. Jeez. Yeah, okay, all right. Well, I don't need any of them. I'm not going to I guess Bill's coming for Tough Man tonight, is that right? Okay. All righty then. Okay. Well, all righty then. Okay. What can I say? You're not going to the Tough Man tonight? Oh, that's right. We have basketball tonight. If we didn't have basketball, would you go to Tough Man? I think I only went to Tough Man once in my life, and it was... Yeah. Right, right. And that was it, yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, well, I think I went once, maybe twice, a long time ago. It's just not my cup of tea. I went because a bunch of guys were going out drinking and said, well, we can stop off and watch this fight and drink there too. Sure, why not? And that was pretty much it. Yeah. All right, so you're working this weekend with games, I guess, huh? All right, well, we're going to Disney tonight. And, going out to dinner tomorrow with some friends. So, although it's okay with me because I like it, they picked Red Lobster. It was like, okay, I just was there last week. But I can go again. I don't mind it. It's just I was going to look for someplace else, but that's okay. We'll go to Red Lobster again, which probably means I'll have the lobster lover's dream again, so... because I like me the lobster. All right, well, have yourself... No, nothing wrong with that at all. Have yourself a good weekend. If you need me for anything, give me a call. I'm going to be around the house until I'm at the symphony tonight. And so if you need something, give me a call. If you have any problems with the game or the high school stream or whatever, I'm always around to try and do my best to help you out if you need some help. All right, otherwise, thank you for your help today, as always, and have a good weekend. I'll talk to you Monday. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.
Today in Beijing.
Rather than giving her comfort, rather than to try to help her. You could feel this chilling atmosphere, this distance.
Russian officials struck back, saying the IOC and the media have bullied the 15-year-old since she tested positive for a banned substance. Hong Kong is postponing the election of its next leader by 6 weeks as it grapples with a worsening COVID-19 outbreak. There are plans to test the entire city for COVID-19. This is ABC News.
Exergen would like you to know about an important study just released by the FDA. It confirms what the medical community has known all along. Non-contact thermometers are not accurate. The study also reports that they fail to meet FDA requirements for accuracy in labeling. We can't afford to tolerate the rampant false temperature readings from non-contact thermometers. Accurate temperature measurements are essential. You need Exergen thermometers because they are accurate and backed by over 100 clinical studies. Be sure, be accurate with Exergen. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Brian Clark, ABC News.
Hi, it's Hoppy Kercheval Talk Line on Metro News. Inviting you to join us for the next show, 10:06 Friday morning. It's Friday. That, of course, means steam release, your chance to vent and get it off your chest. And you can release steam about the host, and the host will not respond. Talk Line, 10:06 Friday morning, right here on this Metro News radio station. We'll see you then.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday. Mostly cloudy skies, a colder day with a high near 31. Overnight low of 25 degrees under partly clear skies. You'll see mostly cloudy skies for your Saturday with maybe even a snowflake or two to start the day with temperatures in the lower 30s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Good morning. Welcome to Talk Line on the Metro News Radio Network.
Do not attempt to change the station. You are surrounded. We interrupt this program to bring you an emergency news bulletin. Repeat, this is an emergency bulletin. Keep your radio turned on.
From the studios of WVRC Media and the Metro News Radio Network, the voice of West Virginia, comes the most powerful radio show in West Virginia.
This is Metro News Talk Live with Hoppy Kercheval. Check set line up link. Activated telephone. Switch network control from Charleston to Morgantown.
Stand by. Q Hoppy. You're on.
Metro News Talk Line with Hoppy Kercheval is brought to you by Encoga Insurance, encircling you with coverage to protect what you care about most. Visit Encoga.com to learn more.
Good morning. Luke Wiggs is our producer. Taylor Kennedy with the video stream you can watch at WVMetroNews.com. The phone number is 1-800-765-8255. Text me 304.